This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trend in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me on Judith Mancini today. We're going to jump right into it because we want to know how to help you sleep better at night. And I don't mean by taking drugs. I mean by clearing your head a little bit, clearing your brain and why you're thinking so much. That's because there's so much going on in the world. So first, we're going to talk about our country and the world, what's happening. Right now, President Trump is in the middle of a cabinet meeting. I think this is so tremendous because I've never seen cabinet meetings before unless it was a little blurb from some news agency. And I know nobody else has either. This is something that he has instituted in his term. And I think it's really wonderful because you get to hear, if you haven't listened in already, you get to hear each and every one speak who is the head of one department, like transportation, like energy, the peace department, and different things like that. So every seat, every person on the cabinet gets a time to talk about his duties and what he has accomplished and what he's looking forward to accomplishing. It's fascinating. So tune that in. I'm sure it's carried on most broadcast studios. You can get a rerun of it somewhere on the internet. Don't leave me to listen in. Stay here because I have some things I want to share with you. All right. So the big problem right now hitting the United States is the horrible, divisive, and disrespectful things that people are saying and instigating violence. And this comes mostly in my reporting on my show today from the state of Minnesota and what the governor and mayor have been saying. In my mind, they've been instigating these riots. And also in my mind, and I want you to think about this and do your own research, there are people behind these riots that are professionals. And I've said this before. Look at the signs. They're professionally manufactured. Look at the rhetoric. Look at how they're dressed. Some of them have had bulletproof vests on. Some of them have had masks on their face, whether it's to keep something out of them from ingesting it, smelling it, breathing it, or just to cover up their face so nobody knows who they are. They complain about ICE having masks on. Well, I think that's a necessary thing. What they're worried about with the mask is being outed and having somebody look them up, trying to see on the ICE list of people who work there where their address is, and if they look like them in pictures. I don't know how you access any of this. I don't want to know how to access it. But if you think that people aren't doing that, you're wrong. They are doing that. And they will go after the ICE people's families. That's what they're afraid of. Remember, a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, something like that, some crazy guy looked up J.D. Vance's permanent residence. You know, he has a home in Washington, D.C. The vice president family stay in D.C. most of the time during their tenure. This crazy man went and broke all the windows in Vice President Vance's home. So this is what people who serve on ICE and Border Patrol and all, that's what they're afraid of. And I can't say that I blame them. These rioters are absolutely insane. And in my mind, also, this is seditious. The governor and the mayor have been encouraging these people to do this. And then there was the member of Congress who said, I believe it was a member of Congress, said, we will hunt you down like the Jewish people hunted down the Nazis after the war. Well, ICE is not the Nazis. And that's such a disgusting thing to call them. So I just think this hostile rhetoric needs to stop. It's been said over and over again that ICE is not going after innocent people. They're going after the criminals, the rapists, the murderers, the people who tear up property and steal. And that since the snowstorm came, there's even more grab and go people busting into the closed stores and all. And a lot of them, I suspect, are the illegal immigrants that are looking for things to sell, to use, what have you. Everybody who's come across that border has come illegally during Biden's term, President Biden's term. They didn't have papers, they didn't have passports, and they came from many, many countries. And we don't know who they are. We're not just talking about our Southern brothers and sisters. We're talking about people who've come across the seas all over. They've come from China. They've come from all the little places in the Middle East, the little countries, Syria and different places like that. It's not right. It's dangerous. And there is a way to come into our country. There is even a way for these people that have come in illegally to be able to come back to the United States and apply for citizenship. What country would give you $1,000 in free transportation on a jet to get back to your country after you've broken that country's laws? It's unheard of. But our country knows that some of these people really are in trouble at home because of their views against communism or whatever they have in their country, and they want to escape. I have to put up the ringing. There is nothing I can do about this computer. Even Apple couldn't do it. I think they should give me a new computer, but that's another story. So that's about enough about ICE now. It's good that President Trump has sent somebody else into Minnesota to help and straighten this out. So let's see what Tom Homan can do about all of this. And he's a great guy to be doing this. He has a lot of experience. So let's just move on here a little bit. This man who was shot a couple of weeks ago, week and a half ago, was shot 10 times and killed for attacking ICE officers. Now, I watched the videos, and I will be the first to say, when the first videos came out, I couldn't tell. I didn't see his gun. I didn't know what was going on. I saw a bunch of ICE people around him, and that's the first video I saw. And I'm, as you all know, a conservative, a Republican, a fan of President Trump's, what you ever want to call me. But I looked at that and I thought, well, this is not right. Now, that was my first opinion. Since then, I've seen many other videos where it was clearly a case where this man who was shot was fighting and trying to escape and trying to get something, and we don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. And then out comes another video of him a week, 2 weeks before, a month. I don't know how long it was because I haven't listened to every single thing over and over again. And sometimes I forget to take the notes. Sometimes I think I've got the wrong station. What am I listening to? Apparently, this man who was shot and killed hated ICE, hated what was going on with the ICE people trying to send back the illegals without papers that are criminals, not the good father who's lived here and worked and taken care of his children. They're not going after people like that. It seems to be reported that they are, but they're not exactly doing that all over. So we need to know exactly what is going on, and that's what's going to be told to us in the next few days, the next weeks, and we're going to try to get it straightened out. Apparently, this man who was shot and killed attacked, spit on ICE officers, and when the officer who was spat upon got out of the car and tried to arrest him for aggressively going after a law enforcement officer, if you will, ICE, he kicked off, that must be a mighty kick, the back tail light on a car, and then was fighting with all of them. So he had every intention of going after the ICE officers and any law enforcement officers. It doesn't condone anybody being killed. I'm sorry if they felt they were so in danger they had to do that. We're going to have to see more evidence of everything and make judgment calls after we know all the facts. And that's one thing that's wrong right now. We're not hearing all the facts from both sides. We're hearing it from the people that are sort of, in my mind, deranged, how they're spitting things out, even in Congress, in the committees, and the way they treated the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, yesterday was disgraceful. What is wrong with the Democrats that they can't even speak without sputtering and saying horrible things about Republicans and their compatriots in the Congress? And they're becoming deranged. What is going on? Have we forgotten all common sense? Can't you discuss anything in a civil manner anymore? The things they have called people, the things they have done. Now the Democrats want to shut down the government again if they don't get what they want. And I'm not quite sure exactly what all they want, but they seem to be able to condone shutting it down because the air traffic controllers got a check. But some other people didn't get checks. And the air traffic controllers do need checks. They need their paychecks to keep coming. Of course they do. And so do the other people that work. There won't be any money for FEMA with all of the people who have had terrible things happen to their homes during these horrible, horrible storms that have been on the East Coast and across the country. So what is the purpose of hurting the citizens of the United States and shutting down the government? 47 days last time. Disgraceful. I don't think they should be doing this, obviously. What do you think? Your Social Security check is still going to come. I don't know what else is going to come, but I know Congress checks are coming. And this Medicare problem that's going on in the United States, thanks to another former president by the name of President Obama. Thank you, President Obama, for having some of the insurance companies back out of covering people for Medicare. We live in the Coachella Valley in California. That's where Palm Springs is. You've heard of Palm Springs. I don't need to tell you all the names of the other, all 9 cities that are in the Coachella Valley. Aetna, who had covered both of us for quite a while with Medicare, for the things that Medicare doesn't cover, A and B. You have to have A and B, and then the C and the D and the E. But it's very confusing for anybody who even has a good brain. Medicare is very confusing. So we got letters, both my husband and I, and anybody else who was under the Medicare umbrella who had the other part of it, which is the people that cover anything that's not covered by A and B, which is doctors and hospitals, by Medicare. And so you have to get this other insurance. They canceled everybody in the Coachella Valley. Aetna canceled every single policy they had issued to anybody on Medicare living in the Coachella Valley. And you know when they did it? At the beginning of December. The very end of November, maybe. I don't remember. I didn't keep those papers. But then you're scrambling because January 1st is when you need to start having your insurance lined up for Medicare. Well, that didn't happen. So they extended it to February 1st. Well, now here we are. Our insurance for Aetna isn't covering us. And we're waiting till February 1st. This is nuts. They say they'll take Aetna, but half the time Aetna didn't take it anyway. It's crazy. So you tell me what good the Democrats have done. And if you're a friend of mine and you're a Democrat, I think you're a good person. I'm not talking about you. I don't know what your political philosophy is, and I don't want to know it. I prefer to be friends. I'm talking to the general population out there, everybody, just so you know what's happening. Well, now we are getting new insurance. As I said, it will be Humana, and it will be on February 1st. Fortunately, we're both healthy. Okay, so what else do we want to say about that? Oh, fraud is running rampant. You know that in Minnesota with the child care and the Somalis. And Governor Walz says it's not. He knows nothing about it. I don't believe that for 1 minute. Why aren't you tracking your tax money? Where it goes, how it's being used? It's a horrible thing going on. But more than that, where there's another bit, an enormous amount of fraud going on and going to be investigated, it's right here in California. And a lot of my listeners are from California. They're investigating the train to nowhere, which doesn't even have tracks, that took billions. They're investigating the money that was given to the state of California by the United States government, with Governor Newsom being in charge. Where did the billions of dollars go to the homeless? It's nowhere to be seen. It was supposed to be for building them some housing, helping them get on their feet again. This is disgraceful in a country like this. Here we are, leaders of the world, and yet we have things that have been going on for years that I don't see how it can be straightened out in the next 3 years. President Trump has done a wonderful job in many people's minds, including mine. I don't know how he's done it all. Think about the 8 wars in the Middle East he has averted, had them calm down, signed peace agreements. Think about what he's done for energy, opening up the pipelines again and letting them mine for coal. And I know some people are against it, but what are you going to use? Those ridiculous looking windmills that are out here? The ones that were in the ocean that were killing the whales from what they were vibrating? Oh, we have them all over the Coachella Valley. And most of them don't even work. And they're ugly. And they'll be there until the next dinosaurs decide to go all over the earth. It's ridiculous. Should have never happened. All right, well, that's about it for complaining about what's going on in our country. They say, while we're talking about shutting down the government, that the air traffic controllers will continue working. But who knows? They shouldn't work so much and be without checks. And we don't want any more horrible accidents occurring. Well, there are some military things going on right now before we get off of the news. There's a whole entire armada over around Iran, and lots of them by Cuba and Venezuela and all. What's going on in Iran is the Khomeini, Ayatollah Khomeini, whatever his name is, he doesn't want to say that they won't ever develop nuclear weapons anymore, and he's not shutting down nuclear plants, things like that. Well, just today, Trump said that he thought that they would be close to a good deal to prevent anything else. But there's that little problem about him killing the protesters in Iran who wanted more freedom. Do you know in Iran, the women can't go out without being covered, without a man? They cannot go to school. They killed 30,000 people of the people protesting in the streets. That's mostly young men. Talk about a country that won't be able to produce children to grow up and take over for more. Their parents are leaving off. Oh, we don't want the bad ones. We want the good ones. What is the UN doing about all of this? Don't get me started on the UN. I think the UN is pretty worthless, quite frankly. All right, so now let me rant and rave and tell you about the health industry. Well, you all know I am in favor of alternative health. That doesn't mean you can't go to a doctor and can't be operated on if your appendix explodes and you need to have it removed. It doesn't mean you can't go to a doctor and get your arm set if you broke your arm. It doesn't mean that some cancer treatments are good and some are bad. It means that some doctors are good and some doctors are bad. Same with nurses. There is the whole industry of alternative health. And some of these doctors that go through these schools and study for so long, most of them have never had a nutrition class, a class in nutrition. They don't know what you're supposed to eat and put in your body. They can't tell you that what things have protein in them or vitamin B in them. They can't tell you any of that, and they can't tell you how to treat different things. Now, I'm going to talk about some nasty stuff here, and I want you to sit back and listen about a couple of epidemics. I also want you to remember that we always put on our shows that you should not take the advice of me, but go and find a professional healthcare provider. Same as with different laws. Go find a duly elected attorney who has a license and all. So be careful. Take everything with a grain of salt and go find these doctors who deal in these different areas of alternative health. That would be including chiropractors, oh my gosh, holistic doctors, people like that. What I want to tell you is we have a couple of epidemics going on in our country. One of them is parasites. Nobody wants to talk about it until just recently. The same thing with psoriasis and other skin rashes and all. These are at epidemic levels. Some of them affect children and all the way through adulthood of any age. Actually, both of what I'm speaking about, parasites and psoriasis and eczema, these things can affect children or adults. Let's talk about parasites first. First of all, if you have stomach problems and you go to a regular doctor, meaning an MD, a medical doctor who's gone through school and has a medical license, and you tell them that you think you have parasites for various reasons, and they'll give you ivermectin. Ivermectin is a drug. I don't know what's in it and how they formulated it, but of course it's big pharma. And ivermectin is not cheap. And yet you've got these parasites and your child has parasites. And these parasites can be worms. That's basically what they are, but also heavy metals. It can be tapeworm, flatworm, liver flukes, all sorts of worms. You can get on the internet and you can look up parasites and they can show you pictures of these different things and where they affect your body. They will come in from food that hasn't been washed properly or meat that hasn't been thoroughly looked at by the people butchering them. It could be from somebody's hands that are transmitting it to you, from a child that's been in kindergarten and picked it up from another child in kindergarten. You can get them from anywhere, and they're extremely difficult to get rid of. So if you go to a regular medical doctor, maybe it's your gynecologist, maybe it's a cardiologist, maybe it's what's called a primary physician, and I'll get into that in a minute. They're going to tell you to get this ivermectin and it will take care of you, or some other drug like that, which is a fallacy. There may be reasons to take ivermectin or something else, but not for parasites. Parasites are best treated by herbs and oils. I know that sounds funny, but we have to step back and think about Native American medicine and people in Asia and different countries that are not as developed as the United States, with all of these pharmaceutical companies and all, although some of them build in those countries because it's cheaper. I hurt my back when I was moving from one house to another. I don't even know where I was moving from. And we went to Hong Kong, we went to China, and I had hurt my back doing that move, getting us ready to go, getting it onto the moving van and all. And I don't have a bad back. I mean, I'm pretty healthy in every regard, except I do have some lines. Aging. There's something to solve that too. Okay, so I went to a Chinese medical doctor in China when we were there in Beijing and told them what was wrong. Most of them speak English, some of them don't. They'll translate for you. And I told them how I hurt my back. And by golly, he mixed up a few herbs and told me to take them as tea, hot water, and the pain in my back disappeared. These were not hallucinogenic type herbs or mushrooms or something like that. And it went away. And it stayed away until I had to sit in an airplane on United Airlines to get back to the United States after our trip. By the way, this was a business trip as well as extended for pleasure. And I got a seat in first class that wouldn't go back or forward. It just kept going like this the whole time from Beijing back to the United States. Well, I got back home and I had to go to a chiropractor who shot me up with steroids and also buzzed me and did this and that. I was in pain for 6 months. I finally went to another doctor where we were living who believed in herbs and all, and he fixed me up and it went away. I've been looking for my notes on what it was. I can't find them. So maybe I'll have to find one again. I don't have any back pain, but I'd like to be able to tell people what it was. So there are reasons to do this. Now, the parasites need to have the herbs, oregano oil, black seed, different things. You can get them. You can look them up on Amazon and find the ones that will go after parasites. There's even some there that you can treat your children with. You need to take a binder with it because you have heavy metals in you now. Now, you can get heavy metals without getting parasites, and I don't know how that works, but apparently you can. But you need to get these things out of your body and flush them out. Signs of parasites, which is at epidemic level in the United States, and look how sophisticated we are medical-wise over here, and they can't fix this. You need to look at your stomach. Is it really bloated and never goes down? Do you suddenly become constipated and you can't get anything to come out? Are you sick, woozy, anything else? Not too happy about eating, trying to eat more fiber, trying to drink more juices, trying to stay hydrated. I hate to tell you this, but you're going to have to just open that toilet lid and look at your stool, look at your poop, and see if you can see those parasites. And if you can, then obviously you know what to do. But if you can't, and you're still bloated and you're getting constipated all the time, that's because your poopy is stuck in your gastrointestinal tract and you can't get it out because the parasites have caused a bowel blockage. Okay? This could be very dangerous. It could actually kill you. Once in a while, you see people get rushed to the emergency room and they actually die from a bowel blockage. You don't want that to happen to you. But I can almost guarantee you that traditional doctors are not going to put you on any of these herbal parasite cures that you can find so easily on Amazon and drugstores and any place else you're going. So with the eczema and psoriasis, this is the other one that comes up. It sounds crazy. They give you all these expensive creams and all, and they don't seem to help. It seems by people that I've talked to, it's better to just get some regular cream or lotion and keep putting it on it. And most of the time you're getting it or think you have it from your skin not being hydrated. Now, there are things that you can take for psoriasis or eczema. I don't know them because I haven't found a cure for that yet. I don't have it, so I'm not sure what I would use if I had it. But this is why I'm telling you about these two things, the parasites and the psoriasis and eczema. Because there's a problem in this country with pharmaceuticals, the big companies and doctors trying to make money off of our health. Why aren't they trying to find something for eczema and psoriasis that will work, that is less expensive than what's on the market now? Because they don't want to lose any money. The same thing with the parasites. Pharmaceutical companies came out with, oh, we're going to end heart attacks in men. Oh, it would work in women too. We want you to take statins. Your cholesterol is too high. Do you know why you have cholesterol in your body? Your body needs cholesterol. It holds everything together. It's good for your skin, your bones, your overall health. Yes, there is a point where you should measure your cholesterol and get some basic numbers. But instead of taking statins, which have horrible side effects, you should take something that's natural. Now, there was a time there about, I sold my company so many years ago. I'm thinking it was 10 years ago, but it wasn't. It was more like 30 years ago. All of a sudden, the men that were my husband's age, and he's 80, so he's in his 50s, we're close in age. The people who were in the National Nutritional Food Association, and that was all of us. I owned a health and nutrition magazine publishing company. I owned several magazines. And he was the CEO of General Nutrition Centers. And I dealt with a lot of the advertisers of people in my magazines and in the business of vitamins and different things, nutrition. All of a sudden, the men around that age in their 50s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, who were in this industry and going around from booth to booth, shaking each other. Hey, did you get those statins? I'm going to live forever. I'm never going to have a heart attack. It's my cholesterol is down to practically zero. People, this is dangerous. You need cholesterol. Now, what you don't need to do is take statins, in my opinion. When my doctor put me on statins. My husband was on them, then my doctor. It's good when you start getting up there in age to go get a baseline cardiology test with stress test or something like that. It's good to go to your gynecologist and make sure all of your female organs are in good working order, or what have you. It's good to have your hearing checked once in a while. It's good to have your eyes checked once in a while. Okay, so this doctor decides he wants to put me on statins. I didn't have high cholesterol. So me being stupid, me in the health industry, in the natural health industry, I took these statins. And we were living back east at the time after I first sold my magazines. my publishing company, and Lou was still running General Nutrition Centers as the CEO and president. And so I had visited the doctor in Los Angeles and taken him, and then I was back home again in Pittsburgh. Then I fly out there ahead of Lou to take a long weekend, and I get out of the car to get my little grandson, Leo. Oh, excuse me, wrong grandson, Connor. And he comes running down from the front door, and I go to lift him up like you do with your grandchildren. I almost dropped him because my left arm was so weak. Now, if you remember back then, so many men were hunched over and no longer could lift those weights. They thought I was aging. It wasn't. It was the statins taking too much cholesterol away and having horrible side effects. Did the doctor tell you it had side effects like that? No, they came out later on the label saying could cause muscle weakness. Well, I'll tell you something that my husband takes now. I don't take anything now. I take it once in a while. I take it maybe a month on, maybe a month off, because I've never had cholesterol problems. Better safe than sorry. And what I'm going to tell you is red yeast rice comes in capsules, will help lower your cholesterol or keep it in a steady line that's lower. And the other thing you need to take with it is CoQ10, because the red yeast rice or the statins can lower your CoQ10 in your body, and you need CoQ10 in your body. You can get these things on Amazon also, or your favorite drugstore or pharmacy or wherever. These are natural products, and the people who manufacture them are all FDA approved, so you don't have to worry about that. So if you want to replace your statins and think maybe your muscle strength will come back, get some red yeast rice. Study it, make your own decision, and see your healthcare provider. So the last time, my husband has an appointment coming up with his annual physical. And the last time we went in, the doctor said, "Oh, everything's fine." And he said, "Have you changed medications or anything that I don't know about?" And he read them down. And I said, "Yes, I speak for my husband. He hates to talk to doctors." I said, "Yes, I took him off of the statins and I put him on the red yeast rice." And he says, "Oh, I don't have a problem with that. His cholesterol's better than it's been ever." So you see, it works. And this is the most outstanding cardiologist in all of the Coachella Valley. That's his rating. So you see, there are alternative things you can take that will help you in many ways. Now, before I close the show, I just want to say, I'll tell you why I'm not fond of medical doctors that don't think anything about natural health and alternative methods. Number one was because most medical doctors have never had the nutrition classes and how different things work in your body. And I told you that already. But if you have insurance and Medicare, or even just your regular insurance that you might privately buy, many of them will say, you need to go to a primary physician and they'll refer you to a specialist. Well, this is another way for them to make money. Okay? If I need to go to a doctor, I want to go to one that I've investigated and will take my insurance and look at their education background, their ratings, and all of that. A primary physician will just send you to somebody he refers to, and they more than likely get a kickback. Okay? And they don't always know what they're doing. The primary physician we went to out here in the Coachella Valley when we first moved a couple of years ago sent me to have a scan of my throat. Now, I have lymph glands here that whenever I catch the sniffles, they get a little swollen. And I told that to the doctor. Oh, no, you probably have lymphoma. I said, I don't have lymphoma, and I'm not going to go be x-rayed or a CT scan, whatever it was. Well, I went into this place where I was supposed to have it, and here comes the man with the nuclear medicine to put in my arm. How much do you weigh? How old are you? Do you have any problems with nuclear medicine? Yeah, I become radioactive. So I get my arm up there, and he pokes me like 10 times trying to find my vein. And then he uses this machine. Well, you know what happened after that? He hit my thyroid wrong. My lymph nodes and glands, there's nothing wrong with them. There was nothing wrong with anything. But for 6 months, I've had problems with my thyroid, and I have to go have it looked at again. There was nothing wrong with me. Why did I go? I'm not sure why I went. But my husband, being overly cautious, even though he was the CEO and president of GNC years ago, believes you should go to doctors. So I went, and that was not a good choice. So that's why I don't like doctors. I will never go to another primary physician and have him tell me how to take care of my body. So that's about all I want to say to you today. Remember, find your own healthcare providers, whether they are medical doctors from Yale or Harvard or wherever they have doctor programs to get your medical degree, and they've interned and residency and all of that. Look around and think about alternative medicine. And there's many, many on the internet, and some are kind of quacky. So even medical doctors with their degree behind their name, Dr. So-and-so, MD, some of them are a little quacky. So be careful what you're doing with your own health and who you're discussing it with. And I think if you want to try more natural health treatments, you should study them and you should look at them. And maybe that is your best route to take. So those are the things that keep me awake at night. When I think of people who just go and listen to the doctor, and I kind of look at the pages on Facebook and somebody says they decided not to take chemotherapy and go through all of those things. And lo and behold, they're cured in 6 months. Well, they probably never had cancer in the first place. So however you're looking at your health, be cautious, do some studies, and definitely if somebody tells you you have cancer, you want to follow through. You want to see the results of the test. You want to see the scans. If you've had scans, what's going on? And just take charge. And I think you'll be happier. So that's it for today. I want to thank you for tuning in and listening to me. And don't forget my LifeWave business. I want you to feel better and get those patches on you, which are phototherapy, no medication going in transdermally or anything else. So here's to your health and wealth and longevity. But it's no good to live long unless you're happy. So remember, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today.